Many Bluey fans know the Healer family's house better than their own. Even so, did you know there are secrets about this home that very few people know? For example, Bluey's house existed in real life. Yes, for a period of time, anyone could travel to the city of Brisbane in Australia and find the house. This came from a partnership between BBC Studios and Airbnb in 2022, which modified a house to make it identical to the Healer's home. That way, fans of the series could rent the place to experience living in the show's most important setting and feel like a member of the Healer family. And that's just one of the 17 secrets you didn't know about Bluey's house. The subscribe button is right there, waiting for you. How about clicking and keeping up with everything we post? Usually, no one thinks much about Bluey's parents' financial situation, but we probably should, because when we do, we realize the house they live in is quite expensive. The home has 3 floors and several rooms, meaning this family could easily fit about 3 more people and still have space. If we still haven't convinced you that this house costs a lot of money, know that a 2020 article from the real estate website revealed that the Healer's home is estimated to be worth over $4 million. Yep, it seems like Bluey's family has more money than anyone might imagine, but it's worth pointing out that house prices in the city of Brisbane have increased a lot in recent years. If Bandit and Chili bought this house many years ago, they may have gotten it for a much lower price than its current value, and in that case, it was a great deal. Another possibility is that this house belonged to the family long before Bandit and Chili became its owners, which makes sense if it used to be Grandpa Bob and Nana Chris's house, Bandit's parents. This would explain why the home follows an Australian style known as Queenslander, being made of wood and having multiple floors. The thing is, this type of house was more common in Australia in the past, and newer homes don't usually look like this, so it's clear we're talking about an older house. Besides it being old, we also see a photo of Bandit, Stripe, and Rad when they were kids. Sure, Bluey's dad could have brought that photo from somewhere else, but what if it was taken in this very house during his childhood? If Bandit lived there as a child, everything would fit perfectly, especially since his parents might have given him the house as a gift after his marriage to Chili. Even if the house wasn't free, we're sure Bob and Chris at least gave their son a generous discount. We can also consider that maybe this house once belonged to Grandpa Mort, Chili's father. This theory fits him perfectly too, since he could have given the house to his daughter and moved into the cabin that was probably where Chili's family used to spend their summer vacations, as she mentions remembering that place in the episode Granddad. The biggest proof that the Healer's house could really have belonged to Mort is that we see photos of Chili's family alongside a medal on the wall. Family photos are easy to understand, but that medal looks like it's from the military, and Grandpa Mort served in the army in his youth, so that medal can only be his. But why would Chili have her father's war medal with her? That's the kind of thing she would normally only have after he passed away, except Mort is still alive. This only makes sense if the house was his and the medal simply stayed there. There are many comparisons between Bluey and Peppa Pig, but one that few people have noticed, even though it's right in front of us, is that the Healer's house looks like a more detailed version of the Pig family's house. And that's no coincidence. Joe Brum, the creator of Bluey, confirmed that he was inspired by Peppa's house when designing the Blue Pup's home, which is why both houses sit on top of a hill. It's amazing how Bluey doesn't hide its inspirations from Peppa Pig, which mainly come from the fact that Joe Brum worked as an animator on the Pig show before creating his own series. Another thing Bluey's creator admitted is that the Healer's house subtly changes shape over time, with rooms appearing and shifting places. This happens to make life easier for the show's production team, but Joe Brum knows it frustrates some fans who want to understand exactly how the house layout works. So tell us, would you like to live in the Healer family's house, or at least spend some time there? If so, comment down below #house. Also, do you know why the house looks bigger on the inside than it does from the outside? Joe Brum also explained the reason behind this, and it's pretty cool. Most of the series happens from Bluey and Bingo's point of view, and for little kids like them, everything seems bigger and more magical than it really is. So we can consider the house we see in the episodes to be more the way Bluey and her sister imagine it than how it truly is. Most shows have a pilot episode, which serves as a prototype for the program and usually goes through a few changes before reaching the final version. Bluey has 2 pilot episodes, and the second one shows the Healer family's house. And as expected, it's quite different. The walls were white and the furniture was in different places, as well as having different colors. I think we can agree that the final look of the house turned out much better, or is that only because because we got used to it. If seeing a slightly different version of this house is already strange, then imagine if the cartoon had taken place in a completely different home. That's what could have happened, since initially, even Bluey's main character was going to be someone else. That role was going to go to Rusty. Why do you think he's basically Bluey, just painted red? And with that being the case, it's possible the entire house would have been different, since Rusty has a completely different life from Bluey. We see in the episode Cricket that he lives in a much simpler home. Just imagine if that were the house where most Bluey episodes took place, or better yet, Rusty episodes. The series would be completely different. It's amazing when shows make little jokes that cross over into real life, and that happened with Bluey after the episode Ghost Basket, where Bandit pretended to be a real estate agent who wanted to convince Chili to buy the house, while Bluey and Bingo had to stop it. The amazing part is that after that episode was released, the healer's home was listed on domain.com, an official real estate website. It's a shame no one can simply buy their house, but that doesn't make it any less hilarious. It's impossible to talk about this without remembering that the healer's house really almost got sold in the story of the series. This was a major part of the story in The Sign, a 28-minute special episode. Since Bandit had received a very good job opportunity in another city, he was going to sell the house, which made Bluey very sad. In fact, this was one of the most tense moments in the entire series. And you can understand her side, right? Poor thing would have had to say goodbye to all her friends and move to a different place where she didn't know anyone. Fortunately, that didn't happen because Bandit changed his mind. Everything indicates that Bluey and Bingo will keep living in that same house until they move out on their own as adults, because the episode Surprise features a future scene where Bandit and Chili are still living there, even after growing old. We had seen how the healer's house was different in the pilot episode, but the concept art for the house is also a bit different from the final product, starting with the fact that there is no second floor balcony in one of the concept art pieces. Actually, from the way it's drawn, it looks like the home wouldn't even have a second floor to begin with. A change that becomes very important when we notice that the upstairs floor appears in many episodes. The subscribe button is right there, waiting for you. How about clicking and keeping up with everything we post? You'll notice that the concept art imagined the healer house as being a bit smaller than the final version, and the room that best shows this is the bathroom, which would have been much tighter according to the concept art. It's no surprise that the window would be placed right above the bathtub, unlike in the final version where the window sits a little farther away. It's funny to think about these small changes. Meanwhile, the living room would have had several small differences, but the most drastic one is that instead of a TV, there would be a fireplace. That would have made the house feel even older than it already does. But the artist must have remembered that Bluey takes place in modern times, where, you know, everyone has a TV instead of a fireplace. It's easy to understand why the show decided to make that change, right? Some episodes show that there is an enclosed veranda in the healer house, so of course concept art for it was created. In this case, the changes are mostly in the furniture. There was an armchair on the right side and also a few stools spread around the room, but all of that was removed in the final version. What could be the reason behind these changes? Just imagine how funny it would be if one of the animators simply didn't like stools. The kitchen overall is very similar to its concept art version. Both versions even feature all those plants, which almost make it look like the house is in the middle of a forest. If we're talking about differences, you can point out that the fridge in the concept art has far fewer papers and magnets. Very different from the bathroom, which was basically a completely different room in the concept art. Now, when it comes to the second floor balcony, there are some small changes worth mentioning. There are far fewer plant pots in the concept art, but the ironic part is that there is a much more eye-catching plant pot in the concept art that would sit on top of the table, while in the final version, the table is usually left empty. The fun doesn't stop here. There are 2 amazing videos waiting for you on the screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.